All right, we had the bye week last week, so I appreciate you guys coming back and finding us here. This is, of course, Wooden Sticks, recording from the Aquarius Home Services studio. And looking forward to getting to training camp now, just a couple of weeks away. I thought it'd be a perfect time today to catch up with part of the Wild coaching staff and really kind of a hidden jewel in terms of what this organization is trying to cultivate. His name is Andy Ness, and he's the skating and skills instructor for the Minnesota Wild. And behind the scenes, a very, very vital part of what they do. And he comes from a family of unbelievable skaters. His mother, Diane Ness, legendary throughout the hockey circles, especially in terms of the Olympics and Team USA for many, many, many years. The most, I think, high-profile player you might know that worked with her in his entire career is Zach Parise, who ironically this week was just announced is going into the United States Hockey Hall of Fame. Really happy for Zach and really cool for this family. Diane being Andy's mother, who I know very, very well. And for many years back in the Fox Sports North days, we would work with the Ness family and record those on-ice instructionals during the summer to get ready for the broadcast during the NHL season. So looking forward today to a conversation with Andy, not just about the Minnesota Wild, but more in detail about the summer that was and some of the young players and players we've talked about here on the show that I think could be sitting on very impactful seasons. And I'm looking at players like, obviously, Zeev Boyum, who we got a little peek at last year as a teenager. I look at Juracek. I look at Yurov. I look at a guy like Liam Ogren, who could be set up to take a huge step this year in this organization. And then we'll fill in the blanks with some of the other guys that are on this roster, led by maybe a guy like Matt Boldy, who's really developing into a superstar in this league. And, of course, we'll touch on Kirill Kaprizov. So a really unique perspective on the coaching side behind the scenes for the Minnesota Wild. And I thought a really good primer here before training camp gets going. I think we all have different angles when we come to Wild hockey again here in the 25-26 season. But for a lot of us that work day in and day out over there, training camp is super cool to kind of see what the summer has meant. And hockey has become, not just at the NHL level, I think most hockey parents listening can attest to this, it's become a year-round activity. When I grew up playing in the 70s and 80s, we had hockey schools in the summer, but we didn't train year-round. It's different now, and Andy's a big part of this. And as the players start to filter back into the Twin Cities or the guys that live here year-round, he's had a window into the work effort and the regiment they've put in and what we can look for during training camp. And I really think, especially from a young player side, his perspective is going to be pure gold. So I'm looking forward to that conversation today, and we're going to get to that conversation shortly. But first, we got to thank our partners here at the Talk North Podcast Network. Without these folks, we don't have a show. And I'm going to start with my dear friend John Schweitz and Minnesota Masonic Charities. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Masonic Charities. When you think about the Masons, I get it. You think about the funny hats, those pancake breakfasts, which are phenomenal. My dear friend John Schweitz and I have chatted about this, and it's so much more than that. They've got the Masonic home over in Bloomington. They've got the hospital for the children over at the U of M. They are the largest fraternal organization in terms of charitable needs in our country, and they deserve a ton of recognition. So thank you, Minnesota Masonic Charities, for all you do and for supporting us over here at Talk North, and a special thanks to my good friend, John Schweitz. Another great partner here on the show, Onyx Maps and Onyx Fish.
Have you ever driven past a piece of land and wondered who owns that? Or maybe you need to know exactly where a property line runs. That's where Onyx Hunt comes in. And it's not just for hunters. There are folks using Onyx for their jobs every day throughout the country. From farmers and ranchers mapping out their fields, wildland firefighters navigating rough terrain, to construction workers needing to know who owns what property, this app offers something for everyone. If you need the best land ownership maps, aerial imagery, and property boundaries in your pocket, Onyx Hunt is the tool for the job. Try it free for 7 days. Download Onyx Hunt in the app or Google Play Store, or visit onyxmaps.com/hunt to get started.
And, of course, our dear friends over at Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. When we return, it's time for Andy Ness. It's time to talk Wild hockey, specifically on the skating and skills side. Okay, we're back on Wooden Sticks. As always, we are recording today from the Aquarius Home Services studio. Happy to be joined by a dear friend of mine, Mr. Andy Ness. Andy, thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You know, when you were a little guy and you were old enough to figure things out, maybe it was career day in grade school, if someone would have told you would have been a coach with an NHL team in charge of the skating and skills side for some of the best players in the world, what would little Andy Ness have thought of all that?
Well, I thought I was going to play in the NHL when I was in third grade until I realized I was 5'6" growing up in an era when it was 6'4" players. So I did the two things that I know I can do, and I can't do much anything else, which is teach and skate, and then implementing the puck and the skill portion in with that. So it's the next best thing to actually playing. You get to, like I said, I get to do what I'm good at and try to help. You know, we're all, myself and the coaches, the training staff, the equipment staff, we're all here to support the players. And that's the biggest thing that I enjoy, is getting to support the players and getting to see them perform on a day-to-day basis.
I think I know the answer to this question because I've worked with your mom, Diane, and she is very well known throughout the hockey community as one of the real gurus in terms of teaching skating, going way back to, well, even before Zach Parisi, but he's probably the most recognizable student she had. But how much influence did your mom have on you going down this path?
You know, she had obviously a ton of influence on me. I think the big thing that people, don't quite understand, I think she's really paved the way for a lot of figure skating coaches now, female coaches now. It's much more accepted, which is great to see, because back in the 80s, I would follow her around from rink to rink, and it wasn't so widely accepted. And I think she always had to, every session, she almost always had to prove herself. She had to, basically come up with, she had to be twice as good, as the average male coach, really, because that's just the way it was back then. And like I said, it's changed quite a bit. But seeing her and seeing how she's worked her way up, she didn't just start, and the same with me, just didn't start with Zach Parisi handed you. It was the grind of every day, learning, getting better, working with kids, working with teams. And just, trying to perfect your craft, really. And that's the thing that I learned from her, was it was always, one of the most important things she always told me was, like, every session, every time you do a good job, number one, and number two, you don't know, now we have kids coming from all over the place for a session. She's like, you don't know where this kid is. He might have traveled 3 hours to get here. So give him your best every single hour. And I think that's one of the things that I tried to do every hour as well.
I've watched you guys work your craft and had a chance for years to work with you. In the summer, we'd put together some skating instructionals, and it's incredibly educational to be a part of. And I've been around hockey for 50 plus years, but watching you and your mom and your staff attack it the way you guys do, it's just a different level. As far as just the passion and love of hockey, which you clearly have, Andy, talking to you at the rink on a regular basis, going back to when you were a little kid, where did the love of the game come?
I was always around the rink, so I just didn't know any better. I know it was different back then in the day when my mom would come or she would have to do lessons, and I'd have to follow her along, and I would skate a little bit, and then I would just tag along, and I would be at the rink, it was either at school or at the rink or at the baseball field. It was one of those three places. And I just thoroughly enjoyed being on the ice, whether it's structured or unstructured, kind of like a free skate or having a lesson or playing a game. I just enjoyed that so much. And so I grew up around, I think it's no different than, when people grow up around car mechanics, their parents are electricians or anything like that. You're just, when you grow up around it, it just kind of infuses into you, and that's how you learn. You're around it all the time, and you learn. Look at how many professional, NHL players we have right now, their dads played. Well,
Yep.
nothing is new for them because they've been around the locker room. I mean, I remember seeing the little Genzel around the locker room all the time, at the U. And those guys have been, and you see it now too with some of the guys and their kids now. And it's like, you can kind of see how that's going to shape itself out. But I think when you're around it so much, that's just kind of how you go about your day, and you learn so much. And one of the things that we've always strived to do is try to continue to learn. And that's what makes it fun for me. It can't be just the same stuff. We have to keep improving. The game's ever changing. It evolves. So we have to get better as well.
What type of player were you?
I was a small, good skater, good skills. I think one of the areas that, like I said earlier, I wish I would have played more in the era now. In the 90s, growing up in the 90s, I imagine, chipping the puck in and trying to get it by D. Well, the D could hold you up almost like linemen. So it was like they'd hold you up, they'd clutch and grab. You get in the corner, they'd clutch and grab and hold you there. It was really hard to just try to get space. And that was one of the harder areas. But again, I took what I could, what I can do. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now with my profession.
So how's the summer gone? I know when you live in the National Hockey League, there really isn't any off time. I know that from talking to other coaches on the staff. How was your summer, and how are things going heading into camp?
The summer has been fantastic. I know I just talked to Coach Hines too, a little check-in, as far as the guys at Tria. So what we have is a system where we have some younger guys and a ton of vets this year too, that can come in on their own. We don't have to tell them to come in. They can come in on their own, and they can train with Matt Harder and staff, and then be on the ice with us. And so we have a really good system and a good program, and it works great. Guys come in, they get their workout in, they get their treatments in, or whatever they want to do, get a good skating, good training in, and then they're out of here before noon. So it's so great for them. So it's not no messing around. We go hard, and then they still get their summer as well. But I am super pleased with the just how the summers went, especially at a Wild for the Wild guys. Some vets that I think look really good and seem quite a bit healthier, which is great to see. And then some younger guys that have a lot of talent. And the big thing, not only is just getting the skill work and the training off the ice, but it's learning how to be a pro. And I don't think people really quite understand what it means, what that means, because, when we look at youth hockey, it's just, well, who's the best player? And this kid maybe at a peewee level can out-talent somebody. You get to this pro level, and you're talking about the top of the top from everywhere, from the entire country or from the entire world. And so you have to learn how to be a pro, what it means to take care of your body day in and day out, how to eat right, the training, all of that. I mean, that's so important for, 2 years ago, Brock Faber to learn from Jared Spurgeon, and now for like Zeev to learn from Brock Faber, so it's getting a good group of vets in, getting a good group of younger guys in. The combination seems to work great. Each kind of push each other, but it's fun. I mean, our development camp, I don't know if you noticed, Gordy, but we had, I think there was 14 to 16 guys, and I try to explain this to people. We only had one American, and that was Zeev, and the rest were Finnish, Russian, Czech, Swedish. Let alone no Minnesota guys. So that's what I tried when I talk to younger guys. It's like being a professional. Now you're not talking about just your city, the state. We're talking about the entire world here.
It's an elite group of players for sure. And I watched some of the veteran and star players on this team, and I'll point to a couple in Kaprizov, Zuccarello, and Boldy. These are some of your high-end guys. Obviously, Zuccarello, a very well-respected veteran. But then you look at Kirill and Boldy, you're probably your top two players in offensive weapons. And I see them on a regular basis way after practice is over, 45 minutes to an hour after practice is done. Yep. And we've completed our media stuff downstairs. They're still on the ice. They're working on their skills. They're working on specific items that they want to improve on within their game. And then I think about the younger players, Andy, that you guys have that you're trying to cultivate and build those specific work ethics into, how much of an advantage does it give you guys as a coaching staff when your best players are that committed to working on their game?
It's just incredible. And I think that's the one area that we noticed this summer as well. And I think Billy and staff have done a great job, because you're only going to go, if you have good vets, or your best players, let's say, are your hardest workers, those are the teams that succeed. I mean, I've seen it enough now, being even in New Jersey before, the beat Minnesota, and just around the league. I've worked with enough guys around the league too. If those are your best players, I know you've heard things of whether it's Crosby or Nathan McKinnon are the hardest workers on the ice, and that is probably true. Then the rest of the guys, they're going to get dragged along whether they like it or not. But to see you guys, you hit it on the head there. Do you see Kirill after practice, and Zuki and Bolds and all those guys? They not only they work on their skill, they just love the game. I think they love the game, and I think the other thing is they love to compete. So they just love to compete, because even in the summer they say, let's make everything a game. Whether it's shooting drills, well, let's make it a game. So they love to compete. They love to play the game. And the other thing, to be a pro, you just have to love the grind. And that's even, with guys in Iowa. I've been down to Iowa a little bit, and just seeing that it is such a grind. It's such a hard game. The practices are so hard. You really figure out, like, hey, is this something I'm going to be able to do? And you see a lot of guys, they either figure it out, or then there's next man up, or the younger guys below them are going to take their spots. So that's the biggest thing. Is when I look at those guys, I look at a Boldy, for example, this summer, he was first in line off ice for all the drills, and first in line on ice all the drills. And so what I've noticed too this summer, which has been really cool, from the Spurgeon era, as well as I've noticed Faber and Boldy take kind of that next step in leadership as well, which is great. So now we got kind of layers of guys, older vets that are leaders. Then we got the younger guys that are now 2, 3, 4 years into their game, into the NHL, that are leaders. And then so the younger guys, they're going to have to follow along.
I'm going to throw some names at you, Andy, and whether it's the time you spent with them this summer, maybe it's the time you got to see them and work with them last year. Maybe give us an overall view from your perspective on a skating and skills side, where they're at, and maybe where they can go, the potential they might have. I'm going to throw some of the young guys at you. Let me start with Liam Ogren, and I'll preface it with this, Andy. I look at him and I see an NHL body. I see a guy that, you don't see that body, that size, and that look very often. And I watch the way he's able at a young age to shoot the puck, and I see a ton of potential. What do you see when you look at a guy like Liam Ogren?
Yeah, Liam Ogren, I see, straight line, strong skater, powerful. You said it he's got an absolute rocket of a shot. He can fire the puck. I think he'll kind of, I don't know, where the coaching staff, I'm not part of that as far as where they place him or put him or any of that, but I can tell you that his game is growing, and he is, like I said, he's just a strong, powerful kid, like you said. But he's one of those guys that can probably shoot the puck through a goalie. I mean, he can shoot that hard. And one thing I can tell you is that, being in Iowa a couple of times last year, I didn't get down there as much just because with all the injuries up here, but just watching, I would do some stuff at the beginning that I watched practice, and Liam has that motor. So every drill he has that motor to go. And that's really important, I think, for him, and pretty impressive too, because, here it is, January 19th, and it's a Tuesday or a Monday. They don't play until Saturday, and he just doesn't put it in cruise control. He just goes, that's going to be the next step for him,
How about a guy like David Jiricek?
Yeah, David had a great summer too. I know he came in sometime, either at the beginning of this month or August or end of July. I can't remember, but he's worked on a lot of different things. But he has a lot of tools. And his game is going to grow. But he just specifically with skating, he's come a long ways. I know, for example, just a lot of transition work, just retrieving pucks and backward to forward and things like that. And there's some things that we worked on, and just basically getting his legs under his hips and making sure that when he transitions, he's got something to push with, not getting his legs too wide where he gets out too far, then he turns and he has nothing to push with. So just some different things that we worked on. And he's had a good summer, really good summer.
Well, I look at him, Andy, and I think a lot of Wild fans could see even the limited time we got to witness what he could do in game situations, that he has the instincts. Like you can't coach a lot of what he brings to the table in game time, game situations, the way he's able to be the aggressor, pinch, make a play, have the confidence to make offensive, moves from the blue line. And so I look at what you do specifically on the skating side and the skill side. Big, strong kid, super young, super green, but it's got to be exciting to see a kid like that, I think a lot of times when you get a kid that big, that young, we haven't seen the best of David Jiricek, and it's got to be really kind of for you as that coach on that specific side of things, something that you can really look forward to seeing play out.
Yeah, and those guys, the biggest thing we always forget too. I don't know if people, they put a Wild jersey on and all of a sudden we kind of forget that is he even 20 yet? I don't know. He might be 19, maybe 20, but how young they are.
Right.
A lot of I looked at our roster just with some of the ages, and I looked at a couple of D3 teams, Division III teams here around Minnesota, and they have an older roster than half of our younger guys. So
right.
To keep that in perspective, that they're young, they're growing. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some game reps for them to continue to get better. And I think that's the biggest thing that people have to understand is, what you maybe see as a player is 20, 21. It's probably not what you're going to see if the progression is correct when they're 24, 25, 26. You look at even Matt Boldy. I mean, look at some of the guys that have come through here and the improvements they've made year to year. And that's the biggest thing, especially with these younger guys, is just being patient, but making sure that each day their game grows a little bit.
Yeah, with Jiricek, you just get the feeling like this is a year where he's going to be given the opportunity with where this organization is at to take a really big step forward. The other kid that everybody's salivating about, you mentioned Zeev, 19-year-old kid, still a teenager, and being looked upon as a guy that can really anchor a power play and be an offensive weapon for the Minnesota Wild. When I talked to Marcus Foligno and a couple of veterans like Matt Zuccarello last year during the playoffs, they were taken back by what they saw up close on the practice rink. And these are not guys, especially Zuccarello, that are really easily impressed by younger players. For you, with what you do specifically, Andy, when you look at a kid like Zeev Boyum, is he comparable to anybody else you've worked at, and how good can this kid be?
No, it's tough. It's not comparable, I wouldn't say, to guys that I've necessarily worked with, but a couple of gosh, would it be great to get a Quinn Hughes like type of player? But his skill set is, his feet are so good. His hands just walking the blue line are incredible. He has that kind of Makar shake where he can pull the puck and then all of a sudden, boom, pop to the other side. So he moves on the blue line. It's unbelievable. His feet are, like I said, are great. He's able to really glide. You guys can see the effortless skating. For him this summer, it was really important to put on some weight. I think he's put on 10 to 15 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. So to put on some extra weight and just to add a little bit more power, just even when he's retrieving pucks to skate, adds a little more power to his pushes. But again, young guy, a lot of talent, a lot of tools. So just, again, learning how to play, learning how to be a pro. That, with the Olympic break coming up, there's going to be a lot of games in a small amount of time. And I think for younger guys, it's really important just to stay the course because if, you can't let one bad game bleed into another. So for younger guys, it's just trying to just stay the course, next play, next shift mentality. But as far as the skill set goes with him, it's pretty incredible what he can do with the puck, and noticeably, like I said, on the blue line and in the offensive zone.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch this kid kind of grow right in front of our very eyes. And you could even see it last year when he first got up, and he was young. He looked a little nervous in the playoffs, rightfully so, but getting that experience and knowing how much more comfortable he'll be coming into a training camp, knowing the guys, knowing the coaching staff, feeling like more of a pro. I mean, to me, and I've been around the game long enough, he just has that it factor. And so I'm excited to see what you guys can do with him. I'll give you one more young player's name. And here's an example. Like when Kirill Kaprizov first got here, he was a little older. He had played pro hockey longer and he was mature, but there was still even a learning curve with the language barrier at first and getting him comfortable. And it took a little time with the interactions through the coaching staff. I would talk to Darby Hendrickson about this back in the day. So Danila Yurov's coming over and he's played some pro hockey. He's still only 21 years old. He's certainly a high-end prospect for the Minnesota Wild. When you get the chance to work with somebody like that, how does that process work, Andy? How does that comfort level build between player and coach and vice versa?
I think it's just me knowing and understanding what kind of player he is, and then shaping, if I were to do a session with him, shaping the session around what kind of player he is. The biggest thing with the NHL is Zach Bogosian is not Z Buyam, or Foligno is not Zuccarello. They're all different players, and they all have a different skill set that they bring to the table. And so for me to do a session, I have to know what they're good at, where they need to improve, where do they score, what do they like to shoot, where do they, where's their game, where are they in front of the net, are they net front, are they on the side? I just think, and talking about net front, like an Eki lesson would be different as opposed to more of a east-west type of guy, Eki straight line, and you know what kind of player he is. But I would say with Danila, it would be more, and I've watched a lot of video. He will be in pretty soon. But just to be able to make sure that I know what kind of player he is, and then how I can get him to grow, whether it's his skating or his skills. The biggest thing for me is I want to center the lessons around them, and for them to grow confidence within a session, from session to session to session, to feel better about their game, feel better about their whatever we're doing, and that's how we're going to get guys to get better. So,
and I also would look at having a guy like Kirill Kaprizov, having a guy like Vladimir Tarasenko already on this roster. For a kid like that's probably looked up to both those players for a long, long time. That's got to give your coaching staff a little leg up as well, knowing you can rely on a couple of veteran players to kind of help ease that pain in terms of getting this kid comfortable here in the States for the first time.
No, I agree, and it's great that he has more Russians that he can talk to as well. Even like you said with Kirill, it's been such a cool evolution, I would say, to see him from the time he got here, not much English, kind of a little bit shyer, kept to himself. Well, I think it was the COVID year too, so that didn't help anything. But to see where he is now, one of the most outgoing guys. Obviously, English is really well. So just such a good guy to be around. So competitive, such a hard worker, like you said, just so skilled. It's just unbelievable. So for him, I would say attach yourself to him because they can't get much better. But yeah, we have a good system where I think Z even stayed with Boldy this summer a little bit, and he caught rides from a numerous amount of people throughout the summer as well. So, but I think that's really important to see, like I said earlier, for a younger guy to be able to see how it's done, what to expect, all of those things. I think you really have to have that. I think there's been some teams even in the NHL where the young guys have kind of taken the keys to the car, and it's been tough sledding for them. So I think that mix that we have is really good for young guys to learn from older guys, and the younger guys to push the older guys as well.
All right, Andy, I always bring it back to goaltending. I'm selfish that way. So last year we get to witness for the first time in the history of the Minnesota Wild, the goalie goal by Philip Gustafsson. Here is your chance to brag, because I never looked at Gustafsson as a great puck-playing goaltender, and it's kind of a hidden jewel now in pro hockey to get your goalies to a different level playing the puck. How much work did you guys do with this guy? And honestly, looking big picture, how valuable is it to have a couple of guys that can play the puck back there?
Well, obviously, it's super valuable. You see in the NHL, and if a goalie can handle the puck, it makes it hard on teams when they try to chip it in. The goalie he's able to outlet it, and next thing you know, they're out of the zone. So I would say Freddie. The cool thing you've seen it too, where Freddie does so much goalie work before practice, and they do so many goalie handles. But that's really important. I mean, the repetition on the goalie handles, being able to shoot, being able to pass. Day in and day out. So you got to give that one to Freddie because he's done a ton of work. And I know Bacher too down in the American League. It's cool to see that goalie position evolve as well. And your good friend there, Alex Stalock, how good was he at playing the puck too? I mean, that was so fun to watch. I remember seeing him in high school. I had never seen anything like it. A goalie skate to the corner. They didn't have the restrictions in high school and literally break the puck out himself. So that is kind of cool. But the goalie goal, I mean, how exciting. It's so cool to see.
So I got to ask you, we all have different optics in terms of watching these games. Most games I'm ice level, home games I'm kind of behind the bench, road games I'm in the Zamboni tunnel up on the glass. I've got to imagine if you're Andy Ness and you're in charge of skating and skills and you see some of these kids make these incredible plays or some of these veterans make these incredible plays. You look at the power play and some of the things these guys are able to do. What is watching the game for you specifically like compared to maybe when you go just watch a game as a fan? Let's say you went over to watch the Gophers play North Dakota on some Friday or Saturday night compared to what you do when you watch your guys play.
Well, I always tell that to coaches. That's one of the things that I say. It's funny you bring that up because even in coaches clinics, I say you have to watch. And I had Kyle Rao help me with the coaches clinic, and he said the same thing before I even did to the coaches. He said, you have to watch these games. If you really want to learn, you have to watch them through the lens of like being a coach. What are they doing? Where are they on the ice? All the different situations. Instead of, as it sounds bad, but instead of grabbing a few beers in it for an enjoyment kind of thing, because that's a different. That's something I do at the Twins game. I wouldn't care the logistics of it, but the coolest thing for me is to see. I go to all the home games. I usually bring a notepad and I try to create drills and try to write down guys and bullets at what they're good at, what they need to work at. Where I'll use an example like just watching Ryan Hartman, all the little nuances that he does. He tries to. If you watch his game, he tries to almost hide in the offensive zone. He tries to get lost. He does a lot of bursts. He doesn't skate. He doesn't skate a million miles an hour over the ice, but when he goes, he goes. He tries to find himself. Like I said, he tries to hide to get to different areas. He gets to the net. When he shoots, he's able to. The cool thing about him is he shoots. You don't know where he can release and change his angle as he's shooting. So he might go upper right, upper right, upper up. Next one goes. In the 7 hole, it goes lower left or lower right, posting in. So learning each player and what they're good at and where they need to work. The guys on the half wall on the power play, how many rims can we work on where I rim a puck to Matt Boldy on that side where he is on the power play over and over and over. He picks it off and then tries to make a pass or make a play. But things that they'll do in a game, that I try to create drills after, specifically when we have them either privately or semi-privately.
That's so cool, and I can just see from that perspective watching a home game what you're able to take from that because you've got that overland view, kind of the all 22 in football as they call it, so you can see these plays develop, what works, what doesn't work, what are some guys' strengths, what are some things they need to work on, and you can bring it to the table that next week and help them get better. And then just to see where this is all going, my final question would be, if and when this happens, and I believe it's going to happen, that Andy, this team's going to make a run. If they're able to win a Stanley Cup and you're here as a part of the staff, what would that experience be like to you? And how much do you dream about it once in a while?
I think it would be the absolute coolest thing, not necessarily even, for myself, for the play. I just know what a good group of guys and a good group of coaching staff that in front office that they have here, that they really have some good players, not just players, but good human beings. And the state itself, I think the state, we just are really want to be a part of. I just think that the ride of a postseason is just so fun. Going down to West 7th when it's starting to get nice out. It's just so cool. And I helped out with the frost, so I got to experience that.
Oh, wow.
This spring, which was cool. So I got to go on the ice and bring my family on the ice after and the whole bit as the confetti was flying. And they did a really great job with that. But one of the trainers for the frost said to me, wouldn't this be cool if we could do this with the Wild? And I thought to myself, and that was even before she said that, that was going through my head the entire time. I'm like,
of course,
how crazy would it be for this state to be able to witness that? So, I think that's the thing. You got to keep building towards. And I think it's a good group, and Billy's done a good job of building, and you just got to keep moving forward and, getting better. And that's the biggest key is getting, these veterans to not only to play well, and then getting the younger guys to start to contribute, and then building hopefully building towards a championship.
Awesome stuff. This is Andy Ness, the skating and skills coach for the Minnesota Wild. Andy, we've come to the final segment of our conversation. We call it the Hat Trick Hot Seat. 3 quick questions for you. There's no wrong answer, just a little window into who you are. So it's simple stuff, but you got to tell us the truth. We'll start with this one. Number 1, let's say it's your birthday, your anniversary, it's a special occasion, and you get to pick the meal. What is your very favorite meal?
I would say a filet with some let's say the red potatoes, the mini red potatoes.
Oh yeah,
and a good bottle of red wine.
That's a great pick. Can never go wrong with a filet. I'm a meat and potato guy. Love that answer. This one I'm really curious about. I want to know the first concert you attended. I'd like to know who you went to see, and of course, I want to know the venue.
Oh my God. Oh, I went in high school. I had a good friend, our goalie, go figure, was a huge 80s rock fan. And so we went to see Cinderella at the Medina Ballroom. And
hell yes.
You remember Cinderella they spun their guitars. Do you remember that?
Yep.
When they would spin their guitar. Well, the Medina Ballroom didn't have a ton of ceiling height. So they took they spun it and they took one of the ceiling tiles out. So it was a classic 80s rock band that had played how many stadiums down to the Medina Ballroom in 1995. So
that is so funny, and that is such a great answer. If you're going to see them, you might as well see them at a smaller venue anyway, because they can rock it.
It was
and
great.
You're right there in that small area. Final one, and I'm a movie guy, so I don't know how into the movies you are, but all-time favorite movie, and it can be any type of movie, but if you're going to sit down and spend the time, couple hours to watch a movie, and you say, you know what, this is one of my favorites, or this is my all-time favorite, what's it going to be?
I think it's, again, going back to 1995, Dumb and Dumber. But it's I love that, and my kids, they don't get it, and we watch it again, and humor and everything just changes, and they just don't get, like, the funny parts just go right over their heads. And so we actually watched it straight through. My son's like, "What? Was this comedy? Did you like this?" And so it's just, I think it's just different. But we loved it. In high school. So
I'd put it on the same terms for my generation. I'm a little older than you, of Caddyshack, where the humor was dumb, the movie was silly, but we loved it. We could quote all the lines, and just like Caddyshack, the sequel was so bad. And so you just stick with the original, right? I remember Mike Greenland and I were up in Montreal, and we went and saw the sequel, and it was such a disappointment. But the original, no, it can't be duplicated.
Never as
Andy,
good. No.
So much fun to connect with you. Really awesome information here. I know our listeners are really going to thoroughly enjoy some of the details to what you told us today. And it won't be long, couple weeks, and we'll be gathering over at Tria Rink for another season of hockey. So I'll get to see you on a regular basis, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either. I'm so excited.
It's going to be a great time. I'm back after a short break to put a close on another episode right here of Wooden Sticks. All right, we're back here on the show. Final segment with me today. Really appreciate you taking the time to listen. Really fun to connect with Andy Ness. And one thing I did not know is the work he put in on the side of that championship with the Minnesota Frost. And if you watch them up close and personal, which I did, I was lucky enough to work 5 or 6 games on a fill-in side, doing some sideline reporting on their broadcasts. Watching that team, what a great skating team they are, and what an asset it must be to have an NHL coach slide over here in the Twin Cities and help some of those players out. Clearly there was an impact made, and I think you can watch some of these young players develop on the side of the Minnesota Wild and know the value that Andy and this coaching staff brings on a daily basis. And, it's really cool to watch young players grow. And we saw that specifically with Matt Boldy, and we saw that with Joel Eriksson. We get the chance now to see it with Brock Faber, who was way ahead of the curve because he played a little longer in college. And now we're hoping to see it with a handful of young prospective stars in this league. And Zeev Boyum all the way through on the back end to goaltender Jesper Wallstedt are players that I can't wait to watch during training camp. Can't wait to watch them kind of take that next step as the season progresses. And it's a really big year for this team. Bill Guerin has assembled a group that's got a good mix, as Andy talked about, of veterans at the top end, players in the middle that are established, and then a big group of young players that have room to grow. And the one thing that Bill Guerin and his staff have this year is some room financially to make some moves during the season. I think that's specifically going to be something to watch as this year progresses. And I think for all of us that are fans of this hockey team that want to see them take the next step, not only win a playoff series this year, but also maybe make a run at a Stanley Cup, it's going to happen with players that you bring in and you develop. And so there was a lot of conversation during the draft that the Wild didn't get better that night. And I thought it was very short-sighted. In fact, on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, I took offense to a couple of fans that took shots at the Wild about that because they specifically moved their first-round pick last year to bring in David Jiricek. And I know he got hurt at the end of the year, and we weren't able to see Jiricek at crunch time, specifically into the playoffs against a really skilled and heavy team like Vegas. I think we're going to see something this year. And when I say that, I think we're going to see him take a big step forward. And I think in our conversation today with Andy Ness, some of that came out. And so the Wild did get better that night. They've got an established player that was a first-round pick for another organization that hadn't taken the step yet that they believe will in his time with Minnesota. And so I'm looking forward to that. Danila Yurov coming over from Russia, having Tarasenko and Kaprizov here, that dynamic, how that plays out. Is this the year that Liam Ogren becomes a top 6 forward on this roster? It's not easy to do. There's not a ton of room. When at the front of this roster, you've already got spots taken up by players like Ek and Kaprizov and Boldy. But there is room, if he can take a step with his skill set, for him to be a really important part on the offensive side of the Wild's attack. And I think Andy touched on that. The way he shoots the puck is not something you see very often. Like, NHL guys shoot it different. He shoots it different than most NHL guys. It's a different level when you watch Liam Ogren at practice on a regular basis. So a lot that Andy gave us there in that conversation, and I'm really looking forward to following through and watching some of this play out here in the next couple of weeks. Our first broadcast, if you can believe this, is literally 3 weeks from right now. We're recording this on Thursday the 4th, and our first broadcast on FanDuel will be the 25th, Thursday night, Wild at home against Dallas in the preseason. So it's coming, and it's coming quick, and I cannot wait. It's going to be awesome. Thanks for listening. We're back next week right here on Wooden Sticks with a brand new episode. Remember to ping me at Gorgomatic21. Any recommendations you have for guests, any questions you might have during the show, I'll bring it out as best I can. And always, there is no show without you. So thanks for listening.